All right. I think we're live.
All right.
All right. So, everyone, thank you so much for our second annual CEO Super Series virtual fireside chat with Pi 515. My name is Bobby Nishimwe, and I'll be hosting the first fireside chat for this second annual one. And this series offers a platform to interview CEOs, executives about their professional journey and provide valuable advice for youth navigating today's AI driven world. And today I'm joined by Nick Garhart, where we will dive into a conversation about developing complementary skills in the age of AI. Nick, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you again.
Likewise. First, before we get started, I would love for you to be able to give our listeners a quick background on what you do for work.
Yeah, so I'm Chief Operating Officer at Homesteaders Life Company in West Des Moines, Iowa. I've been in and around the insurance industry for most of my professional career, so dating about 20 years now. I'm a lawyer by background, and kind of in my free time, I've dabbled and played and invested in a lot of different technology startups. In my day job, I kind of oversee sales, marketing, our new ventures, and really do a lot of work to try to drive value for consumers, leveraging technology. So I spend quite a bit of time working with our team here to really help drive value for our partners in the field, but also our consumers. And so, my joke, my job never has the same day. So you get to be a senior executive at a decent sized company, and every day is different, which I love. Yeah, so my path to get to this has been very circuitous, all over the place. I'm, like I said, I've been in the insurance industry about 20 years now, and just love it.
Wow. Well, I'm sure that in over your 20 years, of experience within this industry, but also just overall your working career, that you've seen different technological advancements, innovations that have taken place that have impacted sort of the way in which you work or have impacted the industries or sectors that you've worked in. Obviously, now the big conversation around technology is AI and how AI is impacting work. And so I would love to hear a little bit about how AI has in any way, shape, or form impacted the specific sector or industry that you work in.
I joke, AI is a little bit of a buzzword, but it's really transformational. So I think people, fully don't understand it, its capabilities, Bobby, what it can do, what it's going to do. Some folks I think are scared of it too, right? So well, hey, will it replace my job? I think the best thing I can tell people is to learn as much as you can around how it can complement your job, supplement your job, how it can give you even new skills you didn't know you had an interest in or could do. But I would say on the day-to-day function of my job today, it hasn't done a lot to transform it. I would say in the industry, in the organization, quite a bit. Whether it's sort of how you could use it to interact with a customer, how you could use it to go find a customer, how you could improve efficiencies within the organization. Insurance is a very highly regulated industry, as you probably well know. Every state has its own insurance commissioner, and so regulators are looking at this as well. And so you do have to manage how you would use it in your business when you're a regulated industry like insurance or banking, for instance. A lot of folks are using it in some really creative ways to help predict what a customer may or may not do. How you want to underwrite a policy, in different lines of insurance. Everyone goes through an underwriting process. And so some tools are out there trying to predict loss ahead of time and taking large data sets and playing that out. So, it is really starting to transform how insurance companies operate different lines of insurance, for sure. A lot of it is around the data science, actuarial side, models, predictions, things of that nature. There are other tools out there that are using it in the insurance space to maybe even adjudicate claims. And so, there's a lot of business units in a large company. For us, we are still dabbling with where we want to use it. We're looking at it in claims, how we can process them faster. Business is a little unique. We sell a insurance policy that we pay out almost all of our claims pretty fast. And so people buy our policy to fund a funeral at the end of life. And so we really do pride ourselves in paying our claims out within 24 to 48 hours. So leveraging it in different ways than other carriers would. But I do think, for young people especially, learning how it would augment or supplement your job is important. Learning, kind of where it could go and looking at your own future career and how it may impact it is probably pretty important. If you're someone who's in a very kind of potentially automated, and understanding how it could impact your but really, how would you leverage it to make yourself better is really how I would look at it for most young people.
Yeah, that's important. And I was curious, sort of, as sort of you being in or AI solutions or applications within the work that you do. And I know you talked a little about sort of some of the the legal process that you would have to follow, legal considerations. But what are some of those just sort of the work that you do enhancing productivity? What are some of those considerations that sort of you are thinking through as you some of these AI applications, let's say your sector?
I always start kind of from a first principle standpoint. What are we aiming to do? Is it, whether it's for us, top of funnel for consumers that may want to interact with our product set or our agents. Is there a solution there that and then we look at it and free up more of their time so they can work on the more higher value situations we may have. I do feel like in the next decade, not even sooner, probably 5 years, you will see companies looking at you maybe for to get out of some of these solutions. So certainly we would look at that as well as a buyer or as people. Are there ways to this early innings? But you see some signs where AI solutions can absolutely adjudicate simple claims. In the insurance space, though, you really got to be careful because an AI solution do some of these things. You still have to have a human involved, in my mind, to make sure that it hasn't gone rogue. There's no bias, things of that nature. So you do want to make sure that in our business, because people buy an insurance product, and I say this, it's usually for a bad, whether you have a car accident, a death in the family, you got a health issue you have to deal with. You don't really call your insurance company just to check on your policy, see how it's doing, right? So when it comes to administering claims and kind of how our business works, you really want to make customer following regulations. So there is a little balance in our business that I think be careful with. That being said, I do feel like the solutions that are out there are going to help carriers be more productive. I think you'll see solutions helping agents are far more. Definitely won't get it, but I really start from are we looking at this more for revenue generation first, or is it going to be cost savings, efficiency, productivity? And when you find that right bucket, then you can go find I believe in our profession, our business, there's still people want to talk to somebody real. When you buy an insurance product, almost no matter what line it is, a lot of consumers want to make sure that their decision was a good decision. So you will see agents become more productive. I don't think you're going to see them go lead these solutions, helping them do more business themselves. And so I see AI really in the insurance space as an amplifier that would really take productivity to new heights and things we're not even thinking about as we sit here today, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You almost sort of on the point about, sort of business objectives and business goals really sort of, what do you call it, driving the adoption of some of these AI applications and solutions, and not merely the act of the fact that there are certain applications out there, but it's, as a business, as an organization, what are those business objectives, and how can AI sort of supplement or enhance those business objectives and goals. Obviously, today's conversation, I wanted to sort of be around sort of skills and the kind of skills people are developing in this new AI world. And I was curious, on a personal level, for you personally, within your capacity at work, have you had to learn sort of any new skills due to sort of the adoption overall
time, doing some online tutorials. I haven't gone back and got any formal education, but I certainly, and for me, it's much more of a curiosity to understand everything do over the next 20 years. So I take a little different tack out this. Have to have a solution. It's great to have new shiny toys. It's if the technology is the goal or a business or some time, just kind of forward from books I've read around. Well, hey, the robot kind of stuff. Years ago, right? It's really just one thing. It's just part of the overall. People kind of skip the step of data and having good data and making sure that it's great to have some predictions and outcomes and things like that. But if you haven't done the first step to make sure that everything you're putting into these algorithm data, executive, we might be helping source a vendor through a solution, but it's really more important to understand. So I all the time understand how this will be integrated. That those are going to be some really interesting opportunities for young people. Obviously, if you're someone who can build it, pretty good opportunities there as well. But I think businesses are really going to need what I kind of call those trans. I think companies are going to have huge opportunities in really every industry around.
Yeah. Well, and I think you sort of hit on something important about sort of understanding the AI stack and understanding how these different within that AI stack affect business. I think that, which is the same within the AI stack. But one thing that is important within sort of this new AI world is making sure that there's people complementing effective these new AI applications and solutions within their profession and within their work. And I'm curious for you, I know you started to hint at this and talk about this a little bit about, so what do you look a new age of sort of working where AI applications and technology is very much so at the center of how they do their work.
Lifelong learning. One of the things that I strongly, certainly for anybody, but younger people, especially, you're probably going to have 10 different, not obviously. So building skill to any employer, I think, is really important. But being able to roll up your sleeves and learn new solutions, learn how things are connected, finance and all of that, and so you could help put together a business plan. I think there's lots of opportunities, but for young people especially, yeah, I think it's important to have a baseline, and unless that's you don't need to go build that out and learn a lot of that, but learning how to find those solutions, be in your head and ask for help. Companies out there right now are going to be really dependent on younger people to help us actually come up with those solutions. I'll give you a perfect example. We had a group of interns last summer that had a project where we had them create an automated solution, pilot some AI solutions on how we could do some claims monitoring. These three young individuals in the course of 9 weeks built a pretty amazing algorithm that we actually could use and take into production. So, we see a lot of value in the ability of folks to come in, have impact right out of the gate. But they didn't know anything about our business, but they were able to learn the business fast, ask the right questions, and then really built a pretty cool solution over the course of the summer. So, I'm very bullish on the young people, but I tell them all the time, it's like you need to be a lifelong learner, and don't just like philosophy. Just so you know how to ask questions, things that are kind of in the humanities area. Learn as much as you can about different disciplines, and you really don't know which one of those skill sets is going to be most important in your job. You really don't. And so having a baseline understanding of how all this stuff works is important. Dive into it if that's what you want to do for your career. That could be important and a great career, but a lot of young people aren't going to really want to sit behind a computer and build out code and build out algorithms and all that. But what are the opportunities around that? The data science, the translator, the connector. How can you help a finance team go to the next level? There's so many opportunities that if you understand these solutions, you can bring into a business. And I think for young people especially, the future is incredibly bright.
So right there, I feel like you touched on skills around sort of critical thinking skills and the ability to also have a curious mindset, and as well as developing skills that are sort of adaptable, that can help to translate in sort of an ever evolving sort of workforce that is obviously going to be impacted heavily and is impacted by sort of the technological change that we see. And with that, obviously, we know that a part of developing some of these skill sets, right, that businesses, organizations want to see in the new workforce, and what these young people are learning within their schools and whatnot, and how that aligns to the kind of skill sets of your workforce. I'm curious as to whether if you know of any conversations that are taking place between sort of folks within your industry or within at your company specifically, with universities or education policymakers with regards to sort of helping them understand as to what type of skills and knowledge that students should be equipped with as it relates to the kind of skill sets that you would need to have in the future work.
Yeah, I think there's for probably the first time dependency where industry and business is working more with universities and even colleges. And I think of my good friend Jay Byers, who's the president and help the Citizen College, and the students there understand really what they're there to do for those students. I would say there's always room to get better, and our called Insure Your Future, where this summer there'll be about 125 to 150 interns that are all going to be working at different insurance companies around Des Moines, and it's really for early stage college students, so think freshmen and sophomores. And we are really helping them build an ecosystem for them to think about insurance as a career. And you'll have people that are going to be doing actuarial stuff. You'll have people that are doing public affairs stuff. You'll have people doing technology, sales, marketing, all sorts of different disciplines in that program, and dozens of companies that are in that program. So, yeah, we've partnered with the state of Iowa to create that. You know, certainly in my business, you know, the tidal wave of retirements is coming, and so I tell young people all the time, you know, you don't think of insurance as a great, sexy career, but in an insurance company, you can do sales, you can do marketing, you can do finance, you can do a lot of technology, you can bring in AI solutions to an entire company that's probably in most companies 5 to 10 years behind where they would be if you were doing retail or some other stuff, right? So I think the opportunities in insurance are endless, and we are working very closely with colleges to say, hey, this is a good career field. This is something that young people should use to the insurance industry. Thousands of people work in this industry across the state of Iowa, so it's a great industry to be in. And I think we do a better job working with maybe some of the universities, but I think we've done a lot in the last 5 years to really show, at least in the insurance world, hey, there's really cool opportunities out there. And that program I was telling you about, really, you know, there's kids from all sorts of different colleges coming to that, and so it really is been a good win. And like the University of Iowa, they've really invested in their insurance programs for young people. Drake has done the same thing. Iowa State's starting an actuarial program. So yeah, absolutely, we are working with the different colleges, universities, to let them know, like, hey, here's what the actuary of the future should look like, and that kind of thing. And thankfully in Iowa, you know, our university colleges, they listen and they really do deliver and go hire the people to help educate those students. So yeah, I can't speak too intelligently about other industries, Bobby, but I can speak about ours.
Glad to hear that there's sort of the conversation and sort of collaboration taking place between the private sector as well as sort of the public sector with regards to education and making sure that there is sort of that collaboration in helping to develop the necessary skill sets in the next workforce, as well as talking about what your industry and sector has to offer. And so I was curious, obviously, you know, there's been headlines in the past few months around how, you know, students are using AI, around parents' reactions to sort of different policies that schools are putting around, you know, what is okay and not okay, you know, with regards to how students use AI within their work and assignments. You talked a little bit about how, you know, you read about AI, you're trying to learn a little bit about AI in a personal capacity. And I'm curious as to, you know, whether you have any advice or just any, you know, yeah, let's just put it that way. Do you have any advice for parents as to help their kids learn more about sort of responsible usage of AI technology? And I don't know if you're
I got 4 kids, so I have a little experience there. You know, I would just tell parents a couple of things. You know, it's good to have your child be curious about it. It's really good for them to dive in and learn what it can and can't do. I also think it's equally important to not dumb down a child. In other words, like, don't become so codependent where you can't go source information, find the information, figure out what's true, what's not true. You know, with young people, especially, you know, that are growing up in this age, it's very easy to not even know how to find source information, right? And really, what is the source? So, you know, with my own kids, you know, we stress how important it is to understand, like, hey, something might be said over here, but go figure out what's actually happened. Go figure out what the truth is. When it comes to artificial intelligence, I think it's important to let the kids experiment with it. You know, whether it's Gemini Chat, you know, those large language model type things. Yeah, that's great. But, you know, you can't be so codependent where, well, I can't write a paper, you know, because I put it all through this. The child understands that these tools are there to amplify, and maybe if you could use it as a starting point for different projects, and they can help source. But you still have to understand like the source information. There's been quite a few instances where the platform was wrong. Like they give you bad information, and there's been cases where lawyers have actually used bad citations that the AI made up, right? And so and if you really get good at prompting and how to use this stuff, you can kind of this is out there. Your kids should have some access to learning what it is. Don't rip off other people's work for your own work. Going back to some again these first principles kind of stuff. But you shouldn't be scared of it in the sense that you're not going to let your child experiment with it. It's there, and the toothpaste is not going back in that tube, right? So having an understanding of it, teaching them that there's really powerful ways and positive and good ways to use it, just like we can abuse it too. So, and then having really just good ethics that you understand, like, okay, no, we're not going to use this to rip off work or use it for your own, and you still need to do the work. And I think for young people, especially that are willing to learn, roll their sleeves, be curious, show up every day, do the job. I think the future is very bright. And for parents, when it comes to this stuff, again, it's not going away. So learn a little bit yourself, but hope and guide your child so that they understand. Like there's some really powerful ways to use this in a positive way for society and for yourself personally.
I think that's important. And sort of as we come to a close here, you're a board member of Pi 515, and obviously a lot of the conversations that we've had today is about sort of how AI applications potentially will become more of a feature in the workplace and not necessarily just something on the periphery that companies may be using, may not be using, but it's developing, or it's moving in a direction of becoming a true feature in the workplace. And I was curious, as to whether you would be able to talk about how Python 5 works to equip the next generation with the future workforce.
I think things like Pi 515 and groups like this and ours in particular, really, I think, I've known her for a better part of a decade, is like what this group can do is show people a path that they may not even know was out there, right? And I have seen dozens, if not 100 young people come into a program that we're doing here, and now you're like, wow, this kid's a cybersecurity expert, or this person's done something that I couldn't even have done, right? And so, I tell young people all the time, and my own daughter's gone through programs, Bob, as you know, and whether it's learning about entrepreneurial skill set, soft skills, the technology side of it, going through sort of our tech programs, getting on site at a company like Principal and John Deere credit, and learning what happens in an organization, how technology can help drive those organizations, and really learning from people that are professionals today. It's incredible. They're willing to give their time to help the next generation as well. So I think Pi 515 is a really special program to not only help kids get equipped for technology skills and work of the future, but even the soft skills, and more importantly, the confidence that they can go in and, hey, you can have a seat at the table. When we did the Smart Money program at our company, we had senior executives sit down with those students every week and go through financial literacy, right? So Pi 515 is creating programs that I think really help an individual holistically, not just handle money, because a lot of these young people are going to make a lot of money, which is great, because they're learning skills that are very valuable. So come learn the skills, but then we'll help you learn what to do with your money when you're making all the money. So, and I just love the group because so many young people I've met out of that group, they will follow up with you. You can help them out. And, Des Moines is a pretty special community where you can meet senior executives at a program through Pi 515 and develop a relationship. And now you have a sponsor in the business world that's going to help you out, help open doors and things of that nature. So I tell young people all the time, I can't think of a better program to really help round out an education like Pi 515. I don't think one exists.
Yeah, thank you for that. And sort of, thank you for the conversation that we had today. I think it was important for people to really hear about about the kind of skills that people should be developing and thinking about in this new age of sort of working and with the technological change that's taking place. But also, with parents also understand how to safely and responsibly sort of learn and use this new technology. But also speaking to the work that Python 5 is doing and really helping to develop, train, and teach these various skills that are not just about technology, but they're also about, how can you become the best adult version of yourself as you continue to grow up and whatnot. And I think that is important work that needs to happen. And it was, well, thank you for your work as as a board member of Python 5 for the contribution that you're making to helping sort of especially the youth in Des Moines and Iowa at large be able to be ready for the next workforce or just the working environment that they're going to be faced with. And so Nick came and listened, and who will be listening after this live recording is done. And so this was our first fireside chat for our annual second Super Series, CEO Super Series conversation. So thank you so much for joining us today.